All right, so this is Be More Open. It's an open panel discussion with some Baltimore natives, some non-Baltimore natives, but just some brothers that want to have some conversation about the things that we're seeing in our city, in our state, and of course in the country and in the world. And we've been talking off camera about some of those issues, but really I want to delve right in. Everyone can kind of introduce themselves briefly, just your name, and then when we go back around, we'll get right into it. So.
Alrighty. First up, I am Brother Nagu, Deep Study, Kqalm.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Everyone knows me as Kqalm, as in Cool, Calm, and Collective, Calm, Strong. That's right.
Okay, so I'm Ezekiel.
I'm Marlowe, Septimius the Great.
So the first thing we want to talk about is the state of the city. Where do you guys feel, see, experience that where we are now? And we don't really have to get into how we can change it. Just what are you seeing in our city? And that could be any part of the city. That could be, the quote unquote hood. That could be other places, different neighborhoods. We'll start off with you, Marlowe.
Well, I'm a native Baltimorean, so I grew up in the hood, Park Heights, but I kind of raised myself, and I see Park Heights as the hood, but I've lived all over Baltimore for umpteen years, but I never went back to the hood. So I see parts of Baltimore as being nice. I see a lot of Baltimore that's not nice, but I think it's a conglomeration of a lot of different communities, good and bad, but we hear about the bad more than the good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm actually a native Baltimorean. I spent a lot of time out of the city and state, but I spent a lot of time in the city and state, state of Maryland and Baltimore City. I'm from the North Avenue area and the Sandtown area, which is, I see a lot of something that we talked about in one of the segments and shows I had earlier is about the disconnect between the youth and the elders. And I think that that's such a big resonance of problem that we have going on today is disconnect between the youth and the elder and the police and the legislature and our society. It's not any disconnect between the people and our society. Even from, legislature and a councilman standpoint, when they say, well, what problems do you have? We tell them the problems. It's not like they listening. And we go out and march, it's not like they're listening. So it's like these are some issues that we're having is how do we get our needs and demands met from the people that are supposed to be helping us to get those things met.
Bless. Well, building off what they said, but first off, I was born in New York City, but my son, he was 3 when he came here, and he grew up here. I have since then birthed 8 children, and all of them were born in Baltimore. So one passed, but I still have 7 children that their birth certificates say Baltimore City. And all of them home birthed because I don't trust this medical city. I feel like we're guinea pigged here. So that's one situation about Baltimore I could bring up that I've noticed. But I'm very much a part of Baltimore for half my life. I've lived here pretty much. Been here 18 years, and I got here about 22. So almost half my life. And since I've been here in this city, it's a little different than New York City because New York City is more metropolitan and has a lot, almost kind of like a bigger DC, and especially downtown Manhattan and certain downtown Brooklyn areas and just certain spots. It's got a lot of, it's not a chocolate city. There's chocolate areas. You got Brooklyn, you got Bronx, Uptown Manhattan, things like, but Staten Island is definitely not chocolate. Northern Queens and Northern Brooklyn, certain Long Island, there's another Far Rockaway areas. There's a lot of, white people. But here in this city, this is chocolate. Not only that, everyone almost knows each other here. In New York City, you got people that's in Manhattan that never been to Brooklyn. My first time going to Brooklyn was going to high school. In Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? That was my first time. But that's just how it is. Some people never leave the area. Now I know in Baltimore, some people in West Baltimore never go east. But from my experience, since I've been here, I came here and I helped start a vegan restaurant. There was no vegan restaurants when I helped start with the first one. But there's plenty more now. And I realized when I was in New York City, there's a ton of restaurants vegan. Philadelphia, a ton. DC, a ton. I came here, it was none. So you got to think, even in that aspect, there's just certain things that Baltimore is not receiving that other people are receiving. And is it the culture of where people come from, or is it purposely just being orchestrated that way? And so I also noticed Baltimore's right down the block from DC. It's a 45-minute drive. So if you're DC and you're a white government and you have a chocolate city, not really, because DC's kind of a former chocolate city too, right? But that's their home base. So you gotta, but where do you have that large amount of brown people connected to you? And that's Baltimore City. So where are you gonna test anything that you want to do to people before it becomes something you do to everyone around the other cities? So this is like a frontline city for melanated people. You're gonna get it here first, even before New York get it, before Chicago, before Atlanta. There's certain egos that want to conquer us here. So that's why I love this city. Like, I have a choice to move anywhere I want. I'm not leaving. This is a strategic city. From the Civil War times, the harbor, this harbor is the best. Look, come on. Come on. You know, and you can get anywhere from this harbor. Baltimore, the B&O railroads, you can get to from the ship to the trains. This is the place. But it's our place. And we built it historically. When I say our, I even include myself not being native, because I kind of connect the 13 colonies as an ancient empire of connected people that used to govern this place before they came, you know, to do and divide us as if we weren't a stronghold as far as a nation goes. So that's the state of Baltimore City, to me, is pivotal to people of color around the world. DC is the power, it's the dollar. This is the place that goes around and says it's making peace for everyone. We got U.S. forces in Africa, all over the place. Are we, as the people that are brown here, really backing that? Do we really think that that's right? Does it matter what we think? So people around the world look at us and they like we're U.S. You know, people who really don't understand the politics. I got family members in Jamaica that are wondering what's wrong with us here. We have all this opportunity. And I'm looking at them like, hold up, you really do not understand. And how do you get that? How are they feeding that to you there? But I'm sitting right here and I see ghetto after ghetto after ghetto. I was in Baltimore, I rode with somebody one day. I was like, look at all these houses. How many youth is here? I see one corner store. And nothing till you get to like Pennsylvania. You know, there's nowhere near enough jobs for all of these children. And then the jobs that you do have, fix the concrete. None of them getting the contracts. It'd be a Mexican or a white man sitting up there. Fix the BG pole. Clear the land. There's some landscape. Never us. Paint the streets. All of those are our jobs. Fixing street light, all of that. We don't get none of those. We get none in our own community. Don't get a contract. But yet we got a district councilman that looks like us, or a mayor that looks like us.
And historically, our city government has looked like us. Historically, at least for the last 40 years, the mayor, city council has been predominantly brown, and that kind of moves into, you know, another conversation, which is, where do we see? Okay, do you think that city council and the mayor have a place in terms of our communities? Do you think that they should have a say? And if so, or if not, what do you think, like what role do you think that they should play? Well, how do you think, or do you think that we should leverage whatever, like you talked about demands. You said, hey, we got some people think, hey, we got a list of demands, and if we don't get this list of demands, we're gonna not do X, we're gonna not do Y. You know, is that the approach? Or is the approach, you know, more of a, well, let's have a conversation about it? Or is the approach, let's get some of us who think like us, right? Because we both brown. Right. Us right here and people in the city government are both brown, but the mentality may not be the same. It may not be community oriented. So what do you guys think out of that, or do you have a whole nother solution?
Okay. Well, one thing that I see is that I think we have allowed the factor of these city and state governments to have too much power over these constituent cities that we live in. And I like to call cities like this, these are third world cities. No matter which way you want to look at it, when you go around and see the gerrymandering and the trashy cities and leaving the housing districts looking the way they looked and no one coming to fix it, from the lead levels in the schools and the homes and the water like Flint. You know, these are third world cities. And it's unfortunate because our supposed to be leaders are supposed to be helping us. Like when you go to the situation like in Flint, right? They had the water crisis. So who was supposed to help those people? Well, the first person that should have been in line of defense was the mayor. And what did he do? See, so it's kind of like, why do they have so much power if they're not really doing anything? And I feel like if they're not doing anything, then we need to take some of that power back. And which means is that we need to organize as a unit, as a culture, as a community of people and say, hey, we have this problem. We want you to do this. If you don't do that, then we'll do this. And we have to force their hand. Now, see, when you go into the white communities, you know, and someone gets shot on in the white community, they rise up. They stick together. They put the hat in. They put the money up. They do this, but we're not getting the same. Getting the same contribution from our community toward these issues that need our priority.
So Marlowe, why do you think it is that it's so difficult for marginalized, disadvantaged, black and brown people in our city? Why is it so hard for us to come together? What do you think are some of the things that's stopping us? I mean, you say you grew up on Park Heights. I grew up on Emerson Avenue. You grew up on North Sandtown, right? And it's so funny how we, 5-7 minutes away from each other, really, like a drive, but it's like different worlds. Right. You know, you go from one block to another block, somebody from the bottom of Emerson Avenue, somebody from the top of Emerson Avenue, two different experiences. Exactly. And that's just me putting my little 2 cents in as some of the reasons why I think it is, but you know, take it away.
I mean, it really has to do with being a mentor, of having a mentor. That's the really key to it. Like he was speaking earlier about the youth and the elders. It's like with my situation, you know, everybody I was in my crew, my hood, I no longer a part of. Only because I had one mentor that take the time to show me something different outside of Baltimore, and what the possibilities are, what I see on TV could be true. That's what broke me out of the cycle. And I think that's what we don't have. We don't have mentors or elders that will take the time. Yeah, the kids may be unruly, they may be rude and, you know, ignorant and whatever the culture is for the young millennials now. But the thing about it is the elders have to be strong enough to say, okay, I feel you and I understand you, but this is what I need you to do. And that's what they need. They need to stick with them, not give up on them. Because we give up on them. We give up on the youth that we can break that cycle. You know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest thing. You got to find a mentor. And you got to find a mentor that believes in you and will accept you for your bad and good. You know, yeah, I'm messing up and I might be locked up and whatever, but don't give up on me. And they may not say that, but you have to do it.
And do you think, I mean, so as you know, one of the narratives that we're told, but you know, it is true a lot of times, is the lack of a father figure in the home.
Yeah, I didn't have one.
Which for a lot of youth is the initial mentor. Of course, you know, the mother mentors certain aspects of what you're supposed to do, but the father also mentors certain aspects of what you just do in terms of your behavior, in terms of how you communicate, in terms of how you deal with authority, or in terms of how you deal with rules or structure, whatever those rules may be.
Well, to give you an example, like my household, like my mother was an alcoholic, so I had no relationship with her. I didn't have a father growing up, so I kind of raised myself. So until I went to school in junior high school and met a substitute teacher, just kind of saw the energy or whatever, the positiveness in me to make me break the cycle. It's like I had no idea. I wouldn't even went on that path. But something in me told me to like, listen to this person. You know, you're doing everything wrong. I was rebellious, and you know, contact was off the chain. I was in and out of the principal's office. You know, I was always in trouble with the law and just mouthy and everything. I was just completely off the chain. But because someone took the time off to explain to me, like, hey, I understand that you're going through some pain because your mother was father, where you come from or whatever. But like, hey, that's a different world. And you know, just trusting what I had to say. So I had to, as a youth, trust what he had to say, and then also trust the fact that what he's saying is true. So yeah.
I would like to piggy on what he just said. And that was powerful, man. I appreciate that, by the way. And I did have a father, and let me tell you how important it is, because you know, I've done a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have done in my lifetime. I've been a delinquent youth. I've been a part of the street system in the hood and did, a lot of wrong things that could have got me into a lot of bad places from a delinquent, misspent youth. And you know why I'm here today is because of the words and the echoes in my head of my father and what was taught to me. And it's so important, and that's why people don't understand how important it is to have a father and a mother inside of home. It doesn't mean that because you don't have a parent, you can't get an experience out here of any kind. But there's something lost when you don't have that masculine energy in your home. It's something lost when you don't have that man over top of you giving you that structure, discipline, and order. That's something different when you don't see a working man sitting inside the home. That's something different when you don't have a man spitting that spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and you're basically trying to re-image that as a man, not as a woman. Because some people look, oh, well, woman's supposed to, no. As a man, when you see a person out here, like I never seen my father go and work a day job. So for me, my goal is not to get a job. My goal is to own a business because I want to follow after those footsteps. And what your parents put in place are basically your stepping stone as you go along. Like the brother, you got your pops here and your pops is rolling. He's doing his thing and now you're following in the footsteps. This is what's missing in our community, why it's so important when we get to talk about, incarceration and gerrymandering and housing distribution and, job distribution, because we're talking about what's going inside our family and our home. And like this man is a father and as much struggle he has to go through just to keep a black family afloat. How hard it is to become a small business owner. The difference is because I don't have the white privilege. I can't just waltz into John Hopkins. I can't just waltz into Yale. I can't just get out and use my skin card or my white privilege. That's so important because now we're looking at the structurized problems of why things like the crime bill with Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, why that was so important. Because who were they getting out of these homes? Who were these super predators? It was us. It was us as children. It was us as teenagers. It was us as grown men trying to be men, trying to understand what it was to be men. But now we don't have it. That's been taken away.
And I think to even zoom it out, just looking at it on a whole, one of the things that you mentioned, and you mentioned as well, is a mentor. And I mean, I have a best friend who I met in college. He's from New York, and he was in the streets, got sent down to Alabama to the South because he was just wilding. He was just off the chain, and that happened to a lot of people. You get sent down south with your family, and that's how you get dealt with, or you go to the military. You get sent somewhere where your mother feels as though there can be that discipline, there can be that structure, that she, because she's dealing with so many other things, doesn't have the capacity at that moment to give you, or she might be giving it to you, but you're not even listening to it because, and this is not a sexist thing, this is just, there is difference, we can even talk about the tone of voice. There's difference in the actual, in terms of how people respond to lower pitches, how organisms, whether it's a dog, whether it's a bird, responds to a lower tone versus a higher tone. It's not a negative or a positive, it's just a difference. And so if you're not used to hearing that voice saying, hey, what you doing? What you doing? Why are you doing this? Hey, come on. This is what you should be doing. And one of the things I wanted to say in terms of how you never saw your father, work a job, an office job or a daytime job. And that's so important because I have a lot of immigrant friends as well. And a lot of my immigrant friends, some of them, be like, you've been in America for how many years? You have all these different programs and access or whatever. And then they come to where I grew up. And then they understand, wow, this looks worse than, this looks worse than where I'm from. Why is nobody living in these houses? Why is the trash truck never coming around? Why is there so many cameras? Why is there so many of those lights, right? Every stuff that, if you're from Baltimore, you're used to it. And what they immediately do, a lot of these immigrant families, they immediately establish a business. They immediately establish a legacy to pass on to their children. I knew a guy who owned a corner store, owned a Chinese takeout. His name was Mr. Lau, right off Edmondson and Payson. And I ended up going to school with his kids, and we both got into this gifted and talented program, right? We both, yeah, exactly.
That's being the gifted and talented too.
Yeah, so we both in the program or whatever. And I'm like, I saw him pick up his kids. I'm like, is that you? And we used to call him Wong. His name's not Wong, but that's just how it is. Like somebody called him Wong, and that's what you know. And I remember years later, I went to college and I came back, and I actually had a conversation with him as an adult, because when I was young, I was just going there and getting the chicken box and rolling. But then I got older, and I asked him, I said, how long have you been here? Because I know you were here since I was a kid, since I was 2 or 3 years old. I'm now 22, that's 20 years off the rip. And I said, Mom, do you live up? I'm just asking those types of questions to try to figure out what was the strategy, what was the plan. He told me straight up he made $1 million years ago. He put that $1 million away for his kids. He said now he's working for his grandkids. And his immediate children, it's not that they can't run the business, because they used to work in the store. They used to work in the back. But now one went to Hopkins, is trying to become a doctor. Another one. So now the grandchildren have somewhere to work over the summer and generate income for the family and generate income for themselves, and start to build those skills about managing your money, about putting money away, about responsibility, about being on time, about all this little stuff that is inherent to owning a business, to running a business, that it's just that life experience that you don't get if you grew up in Park Heights and you raise yourself and you don't have a mentor. There should be no expectation for you to do anything else than what you saw. Yeah. We can't look at these kids and be like, oh, you gotta be something. It's like telling me I need to be an astronaut. Right. What are you talking about?
That was a great story. And that's your reality, because you're talking of a 20-year relationship that a man sat there in our neighborhood and said he's a millionaire, and the majority of the people that shopped at his store look like us.
All of them.
All of it. Yeah, 99.99.99.
Yeah, white people was coming to
No, not right. Right. Nowadays they more braver in the city, but that's part of the gentrification too. But moving and growing, the mentor thing is important, and it stems to a fact of just man, but many men are the security of their nation. So I noticed that right now, if you're a second-class citizen, in order for you to become a first-class citizen, it's going to take the men who are second-class citizens to secure and enforce that. That right there is to me, the ultimate level of the overstanding. But then one's is confused, like, how do I enforce that through the Democratic? No. These people that are sitting in positions, it's already shown historically that the white man created institutions and invested in it and told black people they could come into it so that they can be pretty much like the spook that sat by the door kind of pretend like there's opportunities. So to fake everyone else in the rest of the world out that this place is great. That's why they come here. They see W.B. Du Bois. They see people. They see, people, and they swear, wow, look at all the success of them. Then they think that where they're living is so terrible, and so I gotta run to this country and get something great. And like you said, they see, whoa, what's going on? This is crazy. So how did that occur is the fact that I'll be honest, it's called controlled opposition, okay? So you are my enemy, but I'm gonna control what you use to oppose my control over you. So I'm gonna create Boule for you. I'm gonna create Sigma Phi this for you. I'm gonna create Prince Hall Masonry for you. And I'm gonna give you aspect, but you gotta, like we said with the preacher, you have to show me your conformity. So, hey, here's a test. You got 65, man, you need to really brush up on the lie of history and the lie of chronological and the lie of religion and the lie of what this government's actually gonna do for the people. Yeah, you gotta brush up on that. Oh, you got 100? Oh, congratulations. Now you could tutor the rest of everybody. Yeah, I need you to be a teacher. You could be principal. Matter of fact, I need you to be the leading black face so that everybody can say, I could be like that. All the way to somebody black in China is looking at you in America like, wow, I can't wait to be that. Like as though they ain't got a ground and a sun and a moon and rain and people around them. Like, you got to come to America to get what? What's over here? It's a system that's over here. So, I mean, why are they running to a system that's promising them while it sits there and destroys the land they came from? The same land, so like the brethren said, the city's a third world country. Where they coming from? And a lot of these foreigners aren't coming from, if you get here, that means there's people much worse than you that can't get a ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're kind of like almost the hierarchy of people. And so you come here already with that mentality where basically you're the boule coming from there. You're the one that they said, we're going to. And then you come and you don't really, do you really know that? Not if you come in here surprised. So they lying to you. Then they school you. You know them people when you come over here, you better kind of stay away from them, man. You don't go to that neighborhood. Hey, so the brother looks like me and he's coming from another place and you telling him not to interact with me. So who's he to interact with? So he's a brown cookie and I'm a brown cookie, but there's this white filling in between that tells them what to do. So we never really connect. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I hear you, and I wanna even go further. So I hear you obviously mentioning black and white, right? Those notions, those ideas, those perceptions, those labels, those words, whatever you want to call them. And every brown person, every white person has an idea of what those words mean and how those words affect your personal life. Some black people think it don't matter. Some white people think it don't matter. Some white people think it does matter. Some black people think it does matter. So how much do you think, is it a skin color thing, or how much do you think it is a socioeconomic monetization, basically the wealthy making sure that people that look like them retain the wealth, whether that's their children or whether that's whoever?
Well, right off the bat, you're talking about a nation. When you're talking about a people, they have a characteristic. They have descriptions. They have a look. You can't just melting pot somebody while you're in control. You can't say we're going to integrate, but when we integrate, I'm going to be on top of you. There is no way that a person can sit up there without, because there is a nation, and I can't remember if it was Sweden or something, but there's nations that have dual constitutions for two sets of people within the same nation. So
Canada was working on that, and Australia, I think, was talking about that.
And it's coming from, how are you conquering somebody and then trying to say you're making a constitution to fit them? No. Listen, we already had a constitution. The one that you bring in is you trying to put it over me. It's like the brother said with a religion. I'm sitting up there dealing with, this is my God. This is what I'm telling my children, because this is a respect to the ancestors that came before me, and you're going to replace them with another ancestry? That's why you can't just be, you got to divide. Like, I'll trade with you as a nation, because that we're masters at cameras and you masters at wires and the cameras or the wireless or whatever. That's how, from an economic standpoint, that is actually the best way to go. Like, you doing too much. You the jack of all trades. Like, let me do the cotton and you do the wool and let's just get this going. But we can't trade until I am of sovereign equal status with you. I can't trade with you. You saying you own me. You saying what I produce you can tax. Where's the IRS? In England? Where's their central location? And not even in the country. So you're not even really free. You're hijacked. You know what I'm saying? So now you're telling me so everyone comes here thinking America is free, but prior to America, this place was Great Britain. Prior to that, it was France. Prior to France, it was Spain. And prior to Spain, it was somebody you call an Indian, or that really, you trying to tell us that we wasn't here. But all of those aspects have roots to us. We taught civilization to any white. There is no white person that can sit up there and say civilization came to them from someone that looked like them. It has to be they can't even tell you that they exist without telling you about the black woman's mitochondria. But so my reality to the situation, as far as just solution driven, is that black people have to sit up there and organize themselves in this USA and get over the propaganda and the hijack of this melting pot system. Even if you white, you can agree with me. If you really are about me, like, you got a white friend, everybody got a white friend. Well, go to your white friend and tell your white friend that you're trying to start a United States of a black America while they got this United States of a white America, and see how long they stay your friend. See if they'll assist you in that, because you're assisting their whole family every damn day with your social security numbers under them and birth certificates under them, big ass all caps names under them. Like,
So I told you.
Can I add to that before you?
Go ahead. I'm trying to remember my thought.
Let me add to that. Well, go ahead.
So real quick. So like I told you, I spent 4 years in Kentucky. Correct. And Kentucky is one of the poorest states, period. And is predominantly a white state. Right. And I physically saw and met white people that were poorer than I could even imagine. Correct. Right, growing up in Baltimore City. Correct. Because they live in the mountains and the trailer parks and all these different places. So, as we have all seen through this Trump presidency, that those people exist and those people have similar emotions to our emotions in terms of feeling as though they don't have a place, they don't have a voice, they don't have a whatever. And I always look at stuff from a perspective of who's making money off of this situation. Because as we talked about earlier, money is an exchange for your energy, right? You put X amount of hours into, I worked at Morgan Stanley, I worked at, all these different places. I gave them 50 hours, they gave me a couple $1,000, right? And so I bought into that system, right? There's other people that buy into that system, but there's people that put that same energy in and don't get that same amount and don't look like us. So I'm always saying in my mind, well, who benefits from me never even having a conversation with those people? Right. Because let's say if me and those people, let's say we never became the best of friends, we never whatever, but we both agreed that we ain't getting a fair slice of the pie. Right. Go ahead. So I'm just putting that into the ray because I'm from Baltimore, so I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, but I had experience, like you said, you went to Colorado. I've had other experiences that have broadened my perspective on what privilege and access and those things are. Historically, we know that what you're saying is absolutely true. Right. But go ahead. I'm just throwing that in.
So I just want to say that I want to pull a story out of history about Philip II of Macedonia. And it's just to show you about exactly what you see today, because, I was at a time in my life where I thought, as a black person, when I saw disparities against black people, that this was like, oh, all white people hate us and they're all evil and they're enemies. But there's a part to this that people don't know, is there are a lot of white people that are minorities in this situation as well. And so going back to the story of Philip II of Macedonia, who was the father of Alexander the Greek, he basically wanted to go into Egypt. And what happened at the time, this was before 336, before he went into Egypt, that the state council or the senate or whatever you want to call it at that time, they were not with it. The noble people were not with it. What he did was, he went and told the noble people, he said, hey, I want all your children to come to my school, right? And when that happened, he held the children hostage to make them go along with his plans. And that's how he got the agreement to run into Egypt, which he never actually did because he died before then. And that's why Alexander the Greek had to run his way into Egypt. But let's fast forward that. And the same as today. A lot of white people don't know the actual agenda of this government that is controlling things, or these governments or these people of noble power that are controlling things. And so a lot of times we get mismanagement with, oh yeah, white people did this and white people did that. And this is where the ghosts come in, because we're always looking for the culprit of what happened, but you can't find them because they always sitting in the shadow somewhere. And you would think it's the white person at the bank when you go to, but we don't never see the bank owner. We don't see the chairman of the bank. We don't know the people who built the bank. Like, it's a deep study, when you have to get around certain things just to get to the direct issue. And it's the same way when we think about white people. So when I think about white people, it's not to say that all white people are bad and good, because there are some people who are under the belief that white people are bad and good, and, I can't tell a person what to think or what not to think. I just know that for me, I've met some incredibly amazing white people in my lifetime. And, I had one great teacher who was white. I had plenty of people. But what I also have noticed is, and this is the plight that most black people do have against that thing, is it is the white privilege, which hurts us. It's like PTSD, when you have to meet your rapist again. And not that I met that person, but but I want to say this, that, when you see white people gaining or getting access and a privilege to certain things that you cannot get, it makes you feel like they're on the inside of a thing rather than on the outside of a thing. And this is where a lot of the complexity of white versus black go into play. And then when we get to the black community, a lot of people treat us as if we, the people, that are throwing rocks at the penitentiary and shooting people and shooting drugs all day. Look at what we're doing right now. But we're stereotyped into, they don't want nothing. He ain't going to school. He ain't going to work.
You chose the perfect word. And I, this is my own personal belief. I really, truly believe that we are told stories, right, about other people, about other groups of people, right? I remember before I ever met an Indian person, right, I had the opportunity to go to India a couple years ago. I had this idea of what an Indian looked like, what they ate, what they talked like, what they liked, what they experienced. I went to India and people way darker than me, short, tall, skinny, all types of everything. So I think it's beneficial for those in power to be able to just say, hey, you're black, you got dreads, you're this, before you even talk, right? And then I was even talking to my father and some other people about, even as humans, how the easiest way for us to deal with somebody is I perceive you quickly, right? I look at you, boom, 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 okay, I see what this is. I don't have to take deep thought. I don't have to put deep thought into it. Why? It makes it easier for me to talk to you, or easier to avoid you. If I see that you got a police gun on you or a badge, I don't need to talk to you to know I don't need to be talking to you. Why? Because you got a gun. So we naturally do that, and this is kind of back to our conversation. There are people that understand how the human mind naturally works and exploits that. So if you know that we naturally judge things off of its outward appearance, right? This could be empty for all I know, but it looks like a wall, right? Like those fake walls in the movie, you see it and it looks like a wall, and then you see the guy, the Hulk, Incredible Hulk, punch it, and you're like, oh my God, how did he do that? And you don't even know that's just a piece of cardboard. And that's how I feel like.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, it definitely ties into what you said about black and white, because I was raised in the hood. Well, I was in the hood. Didn't know my father too well. He was married to a white woman. So I was told by my mother that to hate her.
Of course.
She was this, So I hated her off the back.
Of course.
One, she was white and I wasn't used to like something from Park Heights. So then as I got older, I started looking at her and then looking at the whole situation, like, well, my mother just didn't like her because she was white. She don't even know her. So it's not a white. I don't see color anymore. It's like how you were raised and what your beliefs are. I don't care what color you are or what planet you come from. It's like, what is your beliefs, and does it mirror or understand what I?
How does it affect me? Because that's the one thing I went to a predominantly white school, and I had to figure out how to educate the people that were around me who are ignorant of everything that we're talking about. They don't even know. It's not like their parents are secretly being like, yo, let's exploit black people. Maybe some people's parents are, but I know I personally grew up with certain people, and they would look at a situation. It's like how I have a lot of sisters, and women in general don't like walking around at night by themselves, right? Don't like being in certain situations. We as men cannot imagine that. We can't perceive that. We can't, so it's for us to have a conversation with them, and for them to be like, yeah, these are the things I'm worried about. So when I have a conversation with somebody who doesn't look like me, just like how when I went to India, and they schooled me on Northern, Southern, and all the different languages, and people who are vegan don't eat, they opened my whole mind. Like, it was like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
But before I had that, I just had that one narrow, this is what an Indian guy, you gotta wear a turban. I only saw 2 people with turbans on the whole time I was there, and they are Sikhs. They have a certain specific belief system. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add something. One thing I do want to add, though, is the perspective that the Bible brings to this too, as well. And since we,
had that conversation.
So I might as well just go ahead and throw it in. But I'll lead. And good night. But
pass the plate.
That's funny. That's a good one.
Right, pass the plate. All right. But one thing I do want to say about this is that the perspective of the Bible teaches us a division between Gentile and Jews already in the book. And I think that that is a reason because of a lot of the enslavement and wars that we have went through in history. So it doesn't condemn a person to just being all bad and all, but one thing that we know is by deductive reasoning, if we keep seeing the same pattern of a behavior, then we know what to expect. And one thing that we have to be not so much as what our ancestors was, oh, we'll help. No. It needs to be a show me and not just tell me phase. We don't want to just be, oh yeah, I'll do, no. We don't want your broken promises. And that's what we got a lot from our European brothers and sisters in history, whereas though they've gave us broken treaties, they've gave us wars, they've gave us slavery, they've gave us, you can't just come out and say, oh, well, black, you can't come into my community and tell me what I was doing in my community before you got here. Same like what's going on today. If these are our communities, you can't come into the community and compare and contrast what's outside of the community, whether what's inside the community. We need you to understand that you're a foreigner and you're trying to place yourself in the community. So at the end of the day, you know, when we get into white and black dynamics, one thing we have to understand is we've not done our real homework before we have let them into our societies, into our people, and let them command us as leaders. Because it's not the fact that a white person can't lead, but if you're not leading the perspective from which my ancestors would lead, and I want to stick to the culture that I already was given. I don't need anything new. I don't need to be colonialized. Okay? I just want to get back to the epicenter from which I started.
And that is and real quick, that is regardless of your perspective on white people or what have you, right? What you're saying is, historically, Europeans, and we know, I mean, this has happened to this day, Europeans, the higher levels of Europe, not the everyday person, the high Europeans are going around to other smaller countries and saying, hey, you know what, I like what you're doing. Let me get the valuable stuff. Let me give you some smoke screen shows. Let me give you some education, knowledge, history. Boom, here's what you are. I'm gonna tell you what you are. And then I'm gonna roll out, and then I need you to pay me some money every month on what you're doing over here, because I gave you that thing that you didn't even want before. And so what I think is important to take from that is to understand the separation, not separation, but the distinction between people who have real power and people who are puppets. Because I think that a lot of the times as black people, we get mad at puppets, right? We get really upset, like when Obama didn't come to Baltimore and, I don't know, shoot a gun, or didn't, you know, go down to North Avenue and kick out the superintendent. Whatever it is, people in their mind had an idea of, okay, you black, you supposed to do this. And I'm not saying he was a puppet completely, but he entered into a system that don't really need him. He's for us. He's in place so that we can go, okay, this is the guy, okay, I'm mad at him, but I'm happy with him sometimes. It's like a principal, but at the end of the day, the teacher is the one that's in your class actually giving you the information.
Bad cop, good cop.
So that's where I feel like we get hung up on, like you said, ghosts in the opposite sense of these people that don't really move the needle. They don't really have, go ahead.
Okay, if I could just interject. We come from, he brought up Gentiles and Jews, and that's real, because Gentiles actually mean a group of families, you know, that know who they are. For example, you know, and then you have Jews, which is really coming from Judah, Yehuda, really Israel, not the Jews that you see with the black hats. It's really kind of like people of this complexion, Jews and people that are white Gentiles. But come on. So the reality though is you're talking tribal. You're talking families, clans, tribes. Okay, and we lost our tribe, so it's easy for us to sit and feel like multiculturalism makes sense to us. That's fine, but you're not going to go to the Igbo and the Yoruba and all of that and tell them they got to let some white people up in that. You know, so that's not going to happen. Because they broke us down so far, we accept things that is part of the life of a conquered people. We are prisoners of war. That's right. So when you're a prisoner of a war, you can't integrate. Yeah. So you can't integrate with the people that are warmongering with you and act like now there's peace. Right. There is no peace. Your people that are prisoners have not had a treaty respected that y'all are of a nation. Y'all been told, listen, I'm going to give you come out and I'm going to let you have this job. I'm going to let you have this. I'm going to let you be a Democrat. I'm going to let you be president. I'm going to let you be the head of the UN. I remember Kofi Annan. That was like the funniest show I've ever seen in my life. Because his brother's not the head of the UN. Like, you just putting people in front. Like, we can't forget that. So when we talk about when I'm talking about a white person, I'm talking from the tribal aspect that every person in that tribe is held accountable not to be letting a foreigner into the energy, not to be letting a foreigner. If you, that person in the tribe is going to have some relationship with someone from another tribe, that ain't taking over our tribe. That's y'all little thing. Y'all can have that. We got little treaties to deal with that. You're like, you want to have a baby with y'all want to do that, fine. But y'all are a minority in the situation. You're not the majority, and will never be. Will never be. The tribe has to stay intact. But since ours have been broken down, but we still a tribe. We don't need them to put us back together. And they don't need to be in our midst when we put them back together. They need to go amongst themselves, organize a thing, and we can then cooperate, if that's the case. But we're not going to front like and we're not going to act like because this person over here is not Trump. Like the brother said, he still get white privilege. Your white girl, like you said, the white woman and the black man's in the house, you grew up and that was ever so lovely. But when they walk down the street, it ain't ever so lovely. When that cop pull over, he gonna beat this black man ass and then let this white girl go and tell her, yo, you know you don't really belong around here. That's what he gonna say, yeah, stay around here and set up the next nigga. Like that's the vibration, part in my slang, but niggas means king. So set up the next king. You know what I mean? So we move forward. Like that's the vibe that I'm putting on the subject. Now, I'm not saying that white people will never be somebody that you can like I just said, you can have a relationship. But where is the people that look like you? Where do you go when you need help? Because the white person can go Europe, they can go Australia, they go anywhere and get represented. Even within the black hood, that white person got somebody roll up and will help them. And we sitting here helpless because we're allowing that to be, and then the social thing behind it that comes out. Like, I ain't got time to be social with you. I have no time. I'm a man that's supposed to protect my nation, and I'm sitting up here having this little lovely conversation. Listen, if I do that, then that's straightly just underlying. That's really just like if I punch him in the face right now, it just ain't gonna make sense. You know what I'm saying? Or if I sit up there and protest against something, that ain't gonna make sense. They not the power. Like he said, you roll into the bank and that person's sitting there, but they still are manifesting something to your child because you running over there and they got the job. They got the situation straight. They can roll out of town. I walk down certain blocks, white person look at me, they like, how the hell did you find this block? And I'm in Baltimore City. And they like, I'm walking down a block, down 83, this lady come out, she jumped in her car. I go downtown right around here. I seen 3 people grab their phone as I'm walking past them on tables. They grabbing their phone. Like, I don't want to live around you. Why are you living around me? And you have a place where you came from. You're not from here. So if you're going to stay here, you're going to need to stay here under some conditions and rules of the people that are indigenous here. And like, that's got to be the...
It's funny because I joke, I joke, but I'm serious. It's interesting that you say that because I say the same thing when I see, the new crop of Hopkins students go in. And I was getting coffee with one of my friends, who's from Ghana but lived in Brazil, and he has a crazy background, and he's able to, give me different perspectives on stuff. But we just sitting talking, having coffee, and I see the Hopkins students, and they're not used to seeing, like you said, they're not used to seeing somebody that looks like me or my friend at a coffee shop that looks like whatever it looks like. And I always strategically put myself in those positions because I remember one time a couple years ago, I was sitting downtown in Harbor East or whatever. And I'm sitting, getting a coffee on one break. It was like one of my first jobs. I was working at J. Crew or something like that, right? Getting a coffee. And I see this young black kid look at me and was like, wow, you sitting over there? Like, you allowed to sit over there? And I didn't conform to sit over there. I didn't change my speech to sit over there. I didn't put on a collared shirt in these pants, whatever that means, in order to be able to sit over there. I was over there with a regular t-shirt or whatever on. And I think to try to bring it forward is like, how do we now move, right? How do we now operate in a city that is already way past the point of realistically, it's like the Chappelle stand-up. He's like, how are we going to take up arms? And we talking about solutions right here. We're talking about, so what do we do? Let's say, right, everything's on the table. How do we legitimately, because at the end of the day, what we 12, 13% of the total population of America, right? Of course, we know our impact culturally is like 95%. But in terms of actual bodies, we only, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but we only have 12, 13%. So my perspective in America, that's what the numbers say. I don't know.
I don't believe they census, but I understand
yeah,
that is
sure,
it.
of course.
And they've been saying we 14% for the last.
Let's say it's 25%.
All the traveling I've done, it's not far. It's a lot of places in the United States where you be like, where the black people?
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's a lot of
Even
people
when you
where
go
you
to
be like,
Colorado,
where the white
it ain't
people
that
at?
many black people.
There's millions of black people where there's no white
Like,
people. You
so
go to
that's-
Alabama, you go to Mississippi, you go to Louisiana, you go to certain places, you got a ton of black
those
people.
places are relatively small to the size of Texas, the size of New York.
And Texas
the
got a
size
ton of black people.
California.
A ton of black people.
It's
What?
got a ton.
West California?
So, okay, so let's
It's
say,
not 50% black.
But who said?
It's not even
Who says?
30% black.
I don't
You know why I'm telling
I
you
don't
that?
think you can say that.
Because it's more
think you
Latino
can say that.
than anything.
I don't think we.
Then when you-
Okay,
then
wait.
when you
Black
get-
people don't
hold on,
do a
let me say this.
census.
Then you get to, hold on, let me say this. Then when you get to the next part that it's more Latino, then it's probably 50% Latino, right? And then you get to the point where it's just a little bit more white people, and then we got 10 to 20% black people. When we talk about 30 million, that's a lot. It's only 40 million in the nation, supposedly, upon census. So we got 50 states. We gotta distribute that around. So how many people could it actually be in one state? It can't be 40, it can't be 30, it can't be 20, and it can't be 10. Or if that state would be the majority of where black people would be at. So if we're grouped around, you can see that this is another reason why we need to come together and not be so spread out apart either. So that way we can build a nation and not just be a nation of a spread out of people.
How about the first thing is you gotta first counter everything you're told from your conqueror. Like they telling you your population and you're listening. They telling you where you live and how you live and how many. Wouldn't I always tell you you're a minority? Won't I want you to feel that? Then I show you pictures of me bombing the hell out of something, like as though I could just do that. Man, y'all lost almost every war y'all been fighting recently. Matter of fact, y'all control both sides monetarily just to keep yourselves looking like you do. You're doing something to the people, to the citizens. But where do you really see citizens rising up unless the intelligence agencies is creating someone, like I said, controlled opposition? We have yet pull up arms. First of all these white people, yeah, they don't have it like that. If you sit up there and realize your area, take care of your area. Let them prove they got something for you. But if you sit here in Baltimore City and you saying you can't take over these police stations in a matter of 24 hours, because what? A few of them got a few guns? It's hundreds of thousands of us. If you sit up there and take it, it's like 300,000 men. Wait, hold on. If you were able to convince your people like they're convincing us of what we think every day, then how they get a black man to join their military? How they conquer you and get you to join their military? They have to propagate that. So now you have to do that for yourself. You have to counter that one man at a time. One man at a time. If you really bout it, you got to go do that. Because seriously, everybody got a phone. The phone is promoting what they want you to feel. Right, so you got young 17, 18-year-olds growing up, becoming into manhood, and 18 is your front line. That's your military. When a black man turned 18, he's in your military. He doesn't know that anymore. Now he's sitting up there joining their military, or like, I ain't fighting with them. Them people is crazy. Yeah, but who you fighting with? Because you're a man. And then after a while, because this man don't have that practice, he starts to not be really manly. Like after a while, now you're 19, now you're 20, 21. I'm 40 years old. It takes a lot for me to stand up and literally say, I'm still gonna fight for my people. It takes a lot, like you said, because you sit up there and feel like it's not reversible. But guess what? Okay, so if it's such a big thing to think it's not reversible, isn't it such a big thing to think that they can continue to do it? Like, really? Like, is you getting your revolution back as hard as it is for them to maintain a world order while they're depopulating, while they're filling you with lies to maintain it, while they're filling you with fear to maintain it? Oh, look at ESPN. We're bombing Saddam. They're going to show a war on TV? They did a war. I was growing up. I mean, when I saw them bombing Iraq on TV, called it shock and awe. Like, who's in awe? Who's shocked? They trying to shock me. Who the enemy of the state? The same people you conquered. We the enemies of this country. To them. So right now you can go surround City Hall right now. It's gonna take them a minute to get there. When they get there, everyone in there out. Get your brother's locked up. Release him now. I saw Malcolm do it. Y'all saw Malcolm? He got a little power, but that was a bunch of black people organized running down to that precinct telling them dudes like, listen, because I know one thing, this is black America. It's not too late to have a gun for everyone. And you don't have to get a gun directly because you might have a record or you can't afford it. There's ways to organize security teams where you can arm a brother that's straight out of prison. And no one could tell you you're doing something illegal. But it's ways around it. We got to organize that. Then you turn around and you say, hold up. It's not just, you got to understand, you're dealing with an economic structure. You're dealing with people who have stock markets. You turn that shit up. You sit up there and turn Baltimore on his ass. Watch these people like, oh my God, I don't have no trust in this country no more. I have no trust in this dollar no more. I have no trust in the economy no more. They start shutting up their money, taking shit out the banks. These places start falling the hell down. One city, I kid you not, just take down Baltimore. Legg Mason gonna be mad as hell. Everybody gonna be mad. You taking away from the vibe. I'm gonna let you, yeah, Bredger, my bad.
One thing Did you want to get into this? Okay, because I know you've been waiting. But one thing I did want to say about this vibe is that, yes, there are situations where, I would hope that it never leads to a situation where we would have to just take up arms and have to get to a situation like that. So speaking about what can be done in the interim of those things, one thing I do need to think back is a forceful take back needs to be of our city and local governments. And this is why I say we need to have real strong elections that are actually putting people in power, and it doesn't need to come from the basis of I went to Yale and I was in the Skull and Bone Society and I knew a couple of whites from over here and, I got Chris Van Hollen in my background, but we don't have District 7 or District 12 or the city on our side. But there's a problem there because it's not a constituent-based democracy. It's not a citizen-based democracy at that point. It's a government ran because it's not democracy anymore. This is what we call what do we call this again? What's the word that we use for autocrat?
Autocracy, oligarchy.
Autocracy, oligarchy. And this is where we keep things in power within self, with those people. And that's what they're doing with their self. We just, we can plug this person in because he'll help us. But they're not helping the community, but we're also voting for these people. And that's what makes it even sad that we're out there picketing and marching for the people who are helping us against our own health, wealth, and development and giving us our own destruction and peril.
You want to go? And in Baltimore, like I said, for the last 40 years, those people have been brown folk, right? And so this is what whenever I think about, okay, hypothetically speaking, let's say we're able to unify, right? That's assuming that we all on the same page. America can't even unify.
That's the problem, right?
Without us, they not even unified, right?
You mean a white America?
Yeah, white America's not unified. They buy into the system that's set before them. That system is set before them by those people who are in power, who run those different committees and these different groups and these super this and blah, blah, blah. And right, all the people who, it really boils down to money and land, right? Money is just a front for land, right? Ownership. I own you, I own your property, I own the ground under you. I own the stuff you eat. I'm giving you your food.
That's right.
I sneeze and you got to bring me a tissue, right? So those are the people that are putting the system in place. And so we've been brought up into the system. Right. Of course, we understand that we're able to learn different things, but do we want to, is the solution putting, and I'm not saying it isn't, I'm just asking, is the solution being like, okay, this is what we got, right? We can't, what we going to take an atom bomb, blow up Baltimore and build it from the ground up? That's the solution.
No. My biggest
Go ahead.
solution is, there is a system.
Yes.
We can't get around that.
Yeah.
It's just we have to train our people how to play the game of life, of the American system. We got to learn how to play it but also keep your identity of what your original agenda is, and make sure that original agenda is moving forward. It's not going to happen overnight.
And I would.
And you can't go against the system, not just like that. You got to learn how to play their game and know your own game.
And I would say even to agree with that point even more, one thing I told my friend, I said, what if let's say, okay, right, the white man, right, comes into Baltimore and wants to set up shop, right, or wants to build Harbor East. Ain't nobody asked you if you want Harbor East. Ain't nobody asked me, yo, you want Harbor East there? No. There was a contract that was given. Somebody bid on it. A company said, yo, I can do this for this. Boom, 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 right? It got done. Those stores are not owned by us. See, I really, this is my own personal belief, really believe that if we had businesses, like your businesses, right, that were taxing people for to come in my neighborhood. Like if I live on Urban Avenue, right, this is our block, right, nobody should be able to just pop up a shop without having a conversation with us, being like, hey, you're not just going to profile people that look like us. You on our block. How you profile us on our block? But I feel as though things just happen, lack of knowledge, lack of access, lack of resources, for a whole bunch of issues we can get into later. But that stops us from even being able to take the first step, which is economic independence individually as people. I mean, as me as a man, forget.
I'm trying to respond to what the king said because he had a great point. Unless you say your point.
I want to ponder on something. I disagree with what you said respectfully. And one take here is that I think that there's a need for a new system, and we cannot. And I say this again. We cannot sit here and go by the same rules that has left us in a state of which we at today. Okay? If we think about it, right? 1776 happened. Okay? That was almost 250 years ago. 240, whatever. What has changed between the physical hardship of slavery that was going on then and the socio-economic slavery? Because now we don't need to whip you into shape. You're whipping yourself into shape. Okay? And that same system has not helped us. We haven't got promotions. We've been demoted. So when we say we want to get into the system and change it and make it work for us, didn't we try that during Reconstruction? Didn't we try that with Black Wall Street? Didn't we try that with civil rights? And I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I think that is a hard road to think that what Malcolm and Martin was doing that they got killed for by this same United States government. It is because that they don't want to change, because that changes the scales of who's on top. And therefore, they don't want to change that. But we need to understand that it's not a want for us. It's a need. It's a need that my family shouldn't be eating with a rat on the corner. Okay, it's a need that the housing that's next to my house needs to actually be renovated so the rats don't come through the wall. Because, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a need. This is not a want. So I feel like there's some things that need to change. And I mean real quick. And I feel like the one thing we need to do is take back cities and governments. And I don't mean in the sense like we got to just roll up with guns. But white people do it every election. How do they gain ground? How are they able to let Texas itself run laws? Because they're putting judges in place. They're putting lawyers in place. They're putting politicians in place. They're putting mayors in place. But we're doing nothing. And we're sitting here voting for the same thing.
They have a plan.
Right. And those people go through an educational system that they created. See,
Have to go through the system.
But this is the conversation. So like, let's say you're saying we can't go through the system, right? Whatever. What is the system?
I think the brother had a point, and the brother has a point. And I think that's where it comes. It's like system or no system. It's a history to our system. The history to this system is that it is our system that someone has invaded. Similar to your body that's been vegan, but now someone pumps it with meat every day. It's still your system. Now you have to cleanse the meat out of it. So we giving them too much power to make it seem like they ever had the mind to create a system. They never did. They duplicated the system. They don't have the genetics to create. They only have the genetics to copycat. Monkey see, monkey do. So let's just get it there. Now, the reality on that aspect is that now you have to clean up your situation. And if you can't enforce the cleanup, then you're not going to clean it up. They got to see that you will bust a shot. And then their mothers got to think, should I put my son out there? Should I put my child out there? Because then you get your women to go and your woman go over to the left. She be like, yo, these brothers about to bust because y'all done did all of these atrocities. Look at this. Look at the list of atrocities that y'all have done. Don't act like, and now we in agreement. Like, you agree these atrocities happen? How about you? You agree that these were a list of things that they did based on their power? I'm not saying every individual white person, but I would let white people around me know that it's going to be hard for us to decipher. If you're really on my side, if you're really thinking about what I'm thinking, then you need to go revolutionize your people. You need to take yourself and go and stand up to Trump. Like I'm about to get my people to stand up to Trump or Israel or Russia or England or the Pope or any one of these people, even from current or far, like the brother said, local. Like, you can't be afraid of the situation because at one time you had a world order and now they do. So they weren't afraid. Somehow or another, they took you down. And they didn't take you down in a way where now you're going to get some fair treatment. You're never, ever, anywhere going to get fair treatment for them. So within that now, okay, so how do we do that? We're going to pick up guns? No. Okay, we could boycott. You can start with the boycotting first. You list your grievances. You let them know, these are my grievances. Democratic Party, Republican Party. Let people see the proof. Bring it out, because people love these parties. Come show. These parties are ran and funded by the same people. They just put the Republican over the Democrat. They put Fox 5 over CNN, but they control both. Right. You understand? They don't care. And then you thinking like you are. And what's your proof on your census? What's your proof on the election turnout? How do you know that this person got elected? Where is your proof? Who of you do you trust to say, yeah, this election was really real? I've recounted. I see the computer. No, Dick Gregory got a YouTube out, bless the man's soul, where he said he won the presidency in 60s because the damn computers came out wrong. And then they had to retract. Check it. Look it up. Dick Gregory. Look it up. The number, because they're controlling the outcome. You can go there and put in a ballot. You've been picking in 2 years. You've been following somebody, and it's been a lie the whole time. Forget that election. All of them damn elections. Your grandmother's whole time of living was a bunch of fake elections. Even when they came with the civil rights movement and integrated you into that, you're going to say that all of y'all wanted that? Do you really think we all wanted integration? No. They publicized Martin Luther King and a few people marching in different places so that they can get the advantage of us and say, you know what, I'm tired of these black people having their own schools, their own Negro League, their own land, they own this, they own that, they own that. It'd be better to make them think I'm going to share with them so I can take away what they own. Now we own nothing. Now we're sitting up there, well, this white person ain't too bad. But that white person was nowhere near you before. When you was in your hood with the all black, they'd send like 1 or 2 white people through just to be little. Like, are these guys still under control? Oh, yeah. You have a church, they put one guy in the church, white guy. Yeah, they still preaching Jesus? Okay, it's good. Like, that's the vibe. But you're not going to now be like, well, that guy's pretty cool. Can I meet your aunt? Matter of fact, my son loves your daughter. Yeah, they just need to have a great relationship. Like, that don't make sense. It makes no sense. You sitting up there with your tribe that got enough male and females for them to intermix. You finding somebody all the way from West Bubble that actually came to learn from you. Didn't they say that? They came and they learned from us. We had the government, and our government clause was that other tribes can be adopted within the Confederacy. This is the Iroquois and the Cherokee. That's what we had. So when they came over here, that's what they were taught. And we allowed them through adoption because we had no racism. We allowed them through adoption as a people, not our tribe, adopt their tribe into the situation as Englishmen or whatever they wanted to call themselves. We allowed them that. Okay? Then or whatever they kept changing. I speak Spanish, I speak French, I speak English, whatever. You speak some Latin language we taught you. Okay, from the Moors. All right, so anyway, now you come and you're adopted into our situation. Now you're learning our situation and co-opted. Oh, we just here, we over there, they were really making us suffer. I couldn't practice my Quakerism and my Judaism and my Christianity and all of that they really pretend and they lying about. So here you come, you sitting up there like everything's cool, like he said. Sooner or later you start letting a few people in. And then all of a sudden, what? We were really here to take your shit. Oh, we're going to do this. Well, what do I have to do to get my children back? Well, you can go over there and shoot that over there. Yeah, them people over there, I need you to go shoot there and over there. Then you come over there. You know, that's the vibe. So now they're learning your democracy. They learning how to have an executive and a legislative branch and a judicial branch, and they're learning that. But now they're going to, as they take it over, they're going to make it something where, through confusing you, that you never taught us this. We brought y'all all here on that damn ship called Jesus. Y'all, other than that, that's the only way you got here. Matter of fact, before you was here, because you got to think, well, black people are the first people on the planet, but we didn't get to America till a white man brought us here. Like, go ahead and believe that if you really want. Like, we never sailed a river until a white man sailed it. Like, we taught you everything. There ain't nothing about life you don't know. So how you going to discover America? But then tell us someone was here. Then tell us you wiped them all out with something small like pox. And then now they gone, and now I just can't, I just don't know how. Now, think about it also. This is a country that has 4 seasons. Not like Europe, not like Asia, not like Africa. Only the people here knew how to deal with the land here. So your odds when you came here needed those people. And those people, because they adopted into your community, were willing to share with you. So they gave you some of their knowledge. They were sharecropping, not slaves, sharecropping. And the deal was they going to do because you going to do. And guess what you did? You did not abide by the contract. That's the vibe. 1770, this Civil War is not a civil war of white Southerners and white Northerners. We're the black Southerners, okay? That was fighting the whites. They ain't gonna tell you the truth about the Civil War. They ain't gonna tell you the truth about the War of 1812 or the French and so-called Indian, where we were the ones called Indios. When Christopher Columbus came here and he has a book called The Prophecies of Christ, that brother wrote inside that thing and just gave us all the description. Then you go to the American Dictionary that says in 1828, copper-colored people is what an American is. That's the definition. It doesn't say white. It don't say Indian. It says copper-colored people. Put a penny on me. That's what I'm saying. That's what the vibration is. They disrespecting our truth, giving us a whole boatload of lies, and we're accepting it as if now they created civilization here and going to tell us what wasn't here. All of a sudden, we came up with all this brother talking about an ark. Once after, and this is my understanding of the pyramids that we built, because it was mounds here, pyramids, mounds. They just change up names on you. And Peru, you gotta know, Peru, Mexico, over here in the Southern Americas, over in Ohio, over in New York, where they call it the Empire State, where it's the capital of the whole entire world. That's because it was already a capital of the whole entire world in an ancient time that they never gonna tell us. Okay, check the Iroquois Empire, check the overstanding, and then look on that be. Who wrote the Bible? Was it a white man? Who wrote the translation, the current King James translation of the Bible? When did white people get power in Europe? Because the Moors ran up in there. How long did the white man? Write a Bible? Why are we giving them so much? Only because right now we're faced with their Hollywood, we're faced with their economic process, but none of that really sticks because the reality is you're not gaining anything as a people. Nothing. There's no traction. None. Like every leader goes and the same countries are still underdeveloped in Africa. We're the South American melanated people. Then they got us thinking Hispanics aren't us. There's so many black, darker than me, speaking Spanish people that they will tell you is a Hispanic and then line them up under another. Are they part of your census or are they part of the Hispanic census? Hold on. Now, what's the others? Are you count? Oh, you don't count in your census people who are locked up and incarcerated? Well, how many of us is in jail? Oh, how many? Yo, they are lying.
So obviously, there's a lot here. This brother strong, Kqalm.
That's the name.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover because history is long, and as you put, we as a people, we have been through a lot, and there's a lot to try and reverse, unpack, get rid of, destroy, rebuild, all of those things. And I think that these types of conversations, as small as they may seem, start to make the little changes, at least for us mentally, for how we communicate with other people in our lives. You know 100 people, you know 100 people, I know 100 people, you know 100 people. That's 2,500 people that might be changed based off of this conversation because of how we communicate with them. So this is definitely really important. I want to go longer. I would love to have this conversation, but I promise you, we will have another conversation.
I do want to add something.
Go ahead. Add one.
And it was actually going to be something I was going to talk about, but I'm going to make this really short and really brief. Since we're talking about the black community, Baltimore City, unity, change, all of those things. One thing, a good practice is that we need to start looking at our own kind, not as enemies, not as oppositions, not as a pawn in a chess game, but as family. You know, when you see people on the street, say hi to them. Ask them if they're okay. You see a man pulled over by the side of the road, his car, his truck is messed up. Ask him if he's okay. See if everything's good. You see a man looking for change on the corner. It's not for you to worry about what that man is going through. You are that person's help. It's no white people just coming down, hey, you know what? Let's give them buckets of change today. It's you or nobody. And even though a lot of people, we talk crazy about our poor people or whatever, don't forget, no matter how much money you got or don't have, you're still one of us. Yeah. And let's be clear about that. If we take pride and prioritization in our own people, we can build. We don't have to wait for someone else to build. And if we let someone else build these people, then they will be the ones who are actually directing and giving the continuity of what they give as far as fruit in this world, in this community, or wherever. And that's so important. So let's invest in our people. Let's invest in our community. Let's clean up that community. Let's make sure that we're being respectful to people. Let's make sure that we're actually lending a hand to things and not just sitting around letting things be and hoping things actually get together, because we know faith without works is dead. So with that note, I just want to leave that there.
And I agree with that, because like we talk about the youth and the elders, a lot of people's minds are just, they're broken. And we have to build their mind up. Like you my brother, all my brothers. And do I want to associate with all my brothers? No, I don't, because some of them have broken minds and don't have the strength to go forward with an agenda to change things. So that's when a mentor, maybe it's not meant a person, but it's what you feed a person to empower them. And that's really, really important to me, because I would love to help all my brothers, but some of them are not strong enough, and I'm not strong enough to make them strong. So therefore, I'm hoping somebody else is able to make them strong. I can only make someone strong that I'm comfortable with. But somebody else has to be able to get through that person to make them strong. And that's how we get it together. That's the unity part. Because we are a broken people.
Yeah.
Broken because of what has been done to us.
But by leveraging each other, you know, in terms of, and really just sharing with each other, we're able to, you know, you might be able to give him something I can't, you know.
Like we all give each other something today. Yeah.
So we gotta wrap it up. But we'll be here at our scheduled time next time, whenever that is. But thank you everyone for coming and sharing and being open and honest about how you feel. I love the open and honest conversation. That's great. So this was Be More Open, and I thought we were pretty open.
I like it.
And we'll talk next time about, I'm sure, a lot of these topics and some other stuff.
Namaste.
Yeah. So that's it.